Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you are about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. This week's video sees a return to the uh, Wrestling Match and Moments Iceberg. And this time I'm looking at Tier 2, Wrestling is Fun and Sometimes Wacky. It is now that I realized I haven't really explained what an iceberg chart is. Then again, assuming you've been on YouTube for long enough, you should already know. But in case you haven't, an iceberg chart is a chart about any particular field that that places various moments or facts about that field on a chart that is meant to resemble an iceberg. You know how icebergs are said to only be, you know how there's only like 1/8 of an iceberg above the ocean and then above the surface of the ocean, and then the rest is underwater. Well, that's kind of the same way an iceberg is structured, with things that pertaining to popular culture that come from that field, stemming from the placed at the top, and then the more you get into that specific hobby, the more you find out. However, you don't really get to know everything about it all the way down here, unless you're like a super fan, most of the time. And this, and also not all icebergs have their specific tiers named, but this one is just in a special case, I guess. Also, this kind of makes the this also kind of makes the assumption that the most well known are also the best, or the greatest, quote unquote. Which, yeah, not always the case, but this is this is not a topic for this isn't, but I'm not going to get into that topic now. Right now, let's explore some of the items that are mentioned in the second tier. We're right about the point where we're entering water. So once again, wrestling is fun and sometimes wacky. Let's start with Hulk Hogan versus Shawn Michaels. Hulk Hogan is one of those names that really needs no introduction. It, if you know, so he's been in stuff aside from wrestling and has done a lot to popularize it. So if you know who Hulk Hogan is, you should basically know who Hulk Hogan is, even if you're not into wrestling. Shawn Michaels is a different is a different question. He he has had a pretty long and pretty prolific career. Uh, it's actually very comparable to actually very comparable to Hogan's, but Michaels never really had the same what should we say, level of attention onto himself for a variety of reasons. However, a match between them is something that has been hinted as being something that could be desired. They were initially supposed to have a longer program, as instead of one match, have three, but for various reasons. Hulk Hogan is a backstage politician. um, it was decided that they would only have one, and during their one match, Michaels absolutely oversold everything that Hogan threw at him. And again, now to allow me to explain some more jargon, selling means that you react to the offensive moves your opponent makes against you. Overselling means that you are reacting in an exaggerated manner. And Shawn Michaels did just that with literally everything, no matter how small and no matter how uh, seemingly inconsequential. That match, and particularly Shawn Michaels' performance within that match, has been compared to an octopus in a washing machine. And having seen some of it, or I think all of it, I think it's safe to say that that comparison is very apt. Next up, Undertaker versus Mankind Buried Alive match. Oh, here he is again, Mankind, facing off against a guy who is called the Undertaker. I don't think you need much. He is just like Hulk Hogan, one of those guys that really transcends the business, so you're likely to know him. And among the and he's also had a pretty long, pretty prolific career. Um, and among his many rivalries was one with Mankind, which included a whole bunch of weird matches, including a buried alive match uh, where the aim of the match is to bury your opponent, as in not literally shovel dirt onto your opponent, but just kind of shove a load of dirt onto them. You're not whether how exactly that works. I'm not going to explain. But yeah, just just looking into the background is kind of enough to really to really cement just how weird this how weird wrestling can sometimes be. McMahon slash the corporation versus Austin Feud. This actually very much belongs in the top tier if we are to go by quality or recognition. The basic idea is that you got this guy, Steve Austin, the same as in this guy, and he had a rivalry with the boss of the WWE, or at the time WWF, Vince McMahon, and also an entire slew of wrestlers he gathered around himself to protect himself against his employee. That feud is known for having taken up pretty much an entire year or more of this of the storytelling within the WWF, or maybe even more. It was on and off, given various levels of attention, and and yeah, there were lots and lots and lots of crazy things happened connected to this. Next up, we have Gun in Pro Wrestling, M-Pro 2015 6-14 10-person tag team match. The sidebar image, I'm gonna guess. I have to admit, I don't know much about M-Pro. It is another one of those federations that is not in my sphere of interest. But really, I think the sidebar image really tells you everything you need to know. Someone brought a gun in a pro wrestling match. This was actually something that was speculated at some time by some commentators, whether or not in matches that are no DQ or have some kind of stipulation where anything goes, would that include guns? I don't know if this match was no DQ because again, I'm not at all connected to what Empro is doing. But yeah. Also, this match does kind of have a little sinister undertone because wrestling is taken somewhat more seriously in Japan, as in they treat it more like an actual sport instead of just entertainment. And also, guns are somewhat more somewhat more sinister, or have somewhat more violent connotations in Japan as compared to in other parts of the world. Japan is notoriously one of the countries where it is most difficult to get where it is to get a gun license. So difficult that even yakuza prefer to use swords. Like that's that's the kind of control we're talking about. So yeah. Anyway, that's kind of it. Too Cool dancing after every match. We're talking about a tag team called Too Cool, and they had the gimmick of being basically party guys, and after every match they would dance. But whether or not they did it after every win or every loss or after every match period, I can't tell because they were a bit before my time. However, I can tell that it made them at least interesting and or noteworthy enough to where people would want to would want to check them out and have and uh, and had fun watching them. Anyway, moving on, we got Arn Anderson, Beautiful Bobby, Larry Zbyszko, Rick Rude, and Steve Austin versus Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, Nikita Koloff, Ricky Steamboat, and Sting. War Games. War Games is a kind of match that involves both teams and a cage or a cage structure built and that is not necessarily built around a ring, but lowered on top of it, and it goes a little something like this: one member from every team starts a match, and then in regular intervals, various other members from various teams join in on the fun. I'm not sure if this was the first, if these guys were in the first such match, or if they were in the most noteworthy one. But still, I guess it was interesting for some reason or another, and therefore it made its way into in this slot of the iceberg. Shane McMahon versus Big Show 2001 Backlash. Okay, you might recognize this name, McMahon, and you might remember that I said Vince McMahon, and obviously this isn't Vince, this is Shane. Well, Vince McMahon and his son Shane McMahon also had a feud going right around 2001, and as part of that feud, uh, the two have not just had various matches, uh, but also have fought in various matches or have arranged various matches between between their supporters. One of these matches was between Shane McMahon and Big Show at a Backlash pay per view in 2001. The first pay per view after the at the time WWF bought out WCW, and therefore kickstarting the Invasion storyline, which is a very complicated storyline in and of itself, which also took most of a year. I might talk about it again at some point throughout this iceberg. Maybe not. Toru Yano antics. Going back to New Japan Pro Wrestling here, Toru Yano is a comedy wrestler operating in New Japan, and he always do some kind of crazy or outright stupid antics throughout his matches. Something that would annoy opponents but delight audiences. Somehow that worked, and has become very popular. He's become very liked, or as we say it in the pro wrestling terms, over. Kota Ibushi versus Yoshihiko. I have to admit I don't know what this I don't know what this is referring to. I'm gonna guess it is one match in particular that I have no history with. So once again, I can't say anything. Chuck Taylor, Invisible Grenade. Yeah. At some point, some guy called Chuck Taylor threw a grenade that was supposedly invisible. What the hell happened afterwards, I really can't say. And also, notice I didn't mention the promotion or anything because, well, I don't know where this happened. This is another one where I have no knowledge of. Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan featuring Bryce Remsburg at GCW JJSP Free. Okay, this requires a little bit more explanation. I already mentioned that Toru Yano is a comedy wrestler. And as I said, he is a comedy wrestler. So there are a whole bunch of others out there, and in fact, there are a lot of promotions that are primarily comedy wrestling promotions, or various promotions that emphasize comedy to varying extents. And one of the things that comedy promotions always have, or almost always have, are invisible performers, and that will. Phew, I can't talk anymore. I have to admit that is that does add for a lot of comedic potential, because you have to see wrestlers selling, i.e., reacting to moves that you that you as the audience member can't even see, which is ridiculous. But if you're in on the ridiculousness, it becomes fun. No? And this is, I guess, one case where two such invisible wrestlers competed, quote unquote. And for some reason, there was this guy called Bryce Remsburg around, who I'm guessing had to be, had to uh, had to react to a whole bunch of action that wasn't there, or even uh, cause a lot of action that otherwise would definitely not have happened. So yeah, definitely wacky. AJ Styles turning botch into an angle. Luckily enough, I actually know what this is referring to. It refers to a 3-day stint in Chikara by a wrestler called AJ Styles. And when I mean stint, I mean he was visiting and had a bunch of visiting for a bunch of shows and had a bunch of matches. At the first of his matches, he had a botch. He slipped off the top rope. By the way, a botch means any kind of mistake in the performance. Uh, and he took that mistake and uh, and kind of repeated it over and over, kind of make it a running gag, so to speak. Eventually he was able to no longer botch, and that unsurprisingly made a lot of people feel feel very happy. He was able to create, and I think that's what really makes this stand out. That he was able to create he was able to create something that garnered more sympathy and more interest from his audience out of doing something that would have normally lost uh, you know credit, sympathy, and interest from the audience. So he did. So yeah, this is a great job he did here, and a great testament to what you need to think about when you're when you're in a match or when you're doing appearances. Next up, closing out this tier, we got Kurt Angle versus Edge in a hair versus hair match. I think I've mentioned a few times that there have been matches for titles, but you can have matches for things aside from titles as well. Um, sometimes sometimes a wrestler's career is on the line, as in you lose this match, you retire. Sometimes it is some part of the wrestler's equipment, most often the mask, i.e., if you lose, you have to give up your mask. And then the craziest one is when hair is placed on the line, i.e., if you lose this match, you have to shave. And I think this was the case where, in this case, I think it was a hair versus hair match, i.e., whoever lost this match would have to shave their head. Um, and for those of you who are watching after this match took place, which is pretty much all of you, then you might know that Edge still has a full head of hair, and yes, I am saying still because Kurt Angle lost that match and is still going bald. I think he was going bald already before, and he decided, okay, we're gonna have this kind of match, and then I'm gonna just go bald from now on. To his credit, he actually made he actually made the chrome dome work for him. He looks a lot more serious and a lot more, like a professional, with without his hair. And yeah, that has been tier 2. Let me check the time here. Okay, we've been at it for 18 minutes. I'm gonna say I'm gonna pause here and then continue next time with the next tier. Wrestling is fucking wild. Looks like it'll give me a lot more to talk about, so yeah. I'll see you then. Until next time, if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and maybe even share it wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you would like to add to what it is I said, the comment section awaits your input. And if you would like to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. Ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.